you get to meet wonderful people because our guests typically are people who like to be outdoors and are like not saying that they're all great sporters, but they just like to be outside, ride a little bit and enjoy the scenery and enjoy each other's company.
Dear listeners, dear viewers, welcome back to our Boat Bike Tours podcast. I'm Ennie, your host for this episode, and I usually work in marketing and sales in our Amsterdam office. And today I'm speaking with a tour guide of ours, Bart. Thank you so much for being here.
Mm-hmm.
Can you start introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Bart, and I'm a first-year tour guide. So this year I heard about it from a person that I met in one of the Amsterdam street markets. And she and I were standing next to each other and started to talk about the products that were sold there. And now from one thing came another, and she told me that she worked as a tour leader here at Boat Bike. And so, well, that's interesting. So from one thing came another, and so I joined Boat Bike and did my first 10 tours.
Wow.
So yeah, that's amazing. That's one of the things that happens if you live in Amsterdam. So
yeah, definitely.
And so I just moved to Amsterdam about a year and a half ago from a woodsy area in the middle of the country. Having lived there for about 20 years after I came back from the US. I worked in the US for 12 and a half years.
And what did you work as?
I worked in the large corporate environment, finance industry. A couple of years in New York, then wonderful Milwaukee, where yes is yes and tomorrow means tomorrow, and people always deliver. It was wonderful. The town of Harley-Davidson and Miller Beer, and then moved to the Bay Area near San Francisco. But then came back to the Netherlands, and we had always coming friends from the US back over to visit us in the Netherlands, and I noticed how proud I am to show them the country. So, go to smaller and larger cities, and not just only Amsterdam, but also some of the beautiful cities like Utrecht, Delft, Leiden, Haarlem, etc. And I'm just totally proud to show my country to those people. And so when the opportunity came along to be a tour leader at Boat Bike, I thought that really fit me.
Yeah,
so
that's basically what you did with your friends.
That's what I did with my friends, and now I do this professionally. So it's just a wonderful opportunity, and I really enjoy it. And you get to meet wonderful people because our guests typically are people who like to be outdoors, and are like not saying that they're all great sporters, no, but they just like to be outside, ride a little bit, and enjoy the scenery and enjoy each other's company. So it's right up my alley.
Yeah, exactly. Also, they kind of all have the same or a similar mindset, which you need for a vacation like this, because I think about bike tours, that's quite a special way of vacationing. And that's exactly what I want to talk with you today about slow travel and just enjoying the moment. So my question for you, first of all, have you ever experienced this way of traveling prior to starting working for Boat Bike Tours?
No, actually not at all, because I'm used to travel with my family. We have my wife and I. We have the wonderful lifestyle that people have with a family. So we have 3 daughters. They're now grown up, all 3 of them. But what we typically used to do is take like an international vacation. And you travel to one location, and then you either stay in that one location and take day trips, or we used to go to other places and then 2 weeks in a 2 week spread, drive from one location to the next, etc., etc., etc. But what I like so much about bike is really that you don't have to take your luggage, from one place to the next, etc., etc., etc. So it's a floating hotel, and I think that's just a spectacular way of traveling with the kids. My 3 daughters. We used to cycle in France, and then so by the end of the day you're really tired. But
Did you take your luggage with you all the time?
Yes, take the luggage with us to the next location. Not fortunately not. We didn't have to camp, but we had like hotels where we stayed, and then you still have to take your luggage along. So just imagine that you have like a 6, 9, and 10-year-old threesome of little girls, and they got a cycle, in the southern part of France, and that's uphill, downhill. But downhill you don't notice. That's a little reward that you get for like half an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Inclines. And then with the luggage that you have to tow along, that's very different.
And then of course you always have to figure out where to stay next, where to go, all the different tours.
Yep. So we had that, of course, mapped out before we went, but still, that was kind of an experience for the kids, and especially if it's warm in summer and in the summer break with the kids, that wasn't really ideal. So we've done that twice, and then the kids, they still remember.
That's good.
So remember, mixed feelings, of course. But no, I thought that was really fun, and I've done some cycle tours myself, and with a group of friends that I cycle with from time to time. And that's different. And we also, go from one place to the next, and but not like a whole week. So that's 2 days or so, 3 maybe. So I think the concept of how we do it at Boat Bike is I'm just my own feeling is of course not that important. It's mostly our guests on board. You always see that after the first day they figured out how the system works, and they can usually find a way to the next location for the boat. And most of the cases, I think I've had only this year with my first year with 10 tours, I only had one person who got really lost.
What did you do then?
Well, we had contact by phone, and so I cycled back about 8 kilometers, and we met up, and then we cycled together back to the boats. So
Okay.
no big deal. But that typically happens the first day, and then people figure out how to use the GPS system and or the world famous Dutch junction point system, Knotenpunktsysteem in Deutsch, Knotenpunktensystem.
That's a really good system, though, and I feel like a lot of internationals are surprised when they come here and find that system, and it just makes so much sense, and it makes it so much easier to also cycle on your own and find the right path.
And what I've learned because I did use the system a couple of years before already, but now I need to know the route just inside out, and so you follow the signs, and some of the signs are sometimes a little bit hidden. So after springtime, the trees start to blossom, and sometimes the leaves one of these signs are hidden behind the new leaves, the new branches, and what have you. So you need to you learn to really pay attention, and then you start to see way more of your environment. So you see animals, or baby animals, lambs or small cows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then swans, you see swans all over, and egrets and etc. So it's actually for me, I've learned to look way better and see way more than before.
Yeah, and I think this is what
Yeah.
slow travel is also about. Because when I think about when I go on vacation, I'm usually also like sometimes quite stressed to find the right way and book the right hotels and so on. But this way of traveling, you can really enjoy, open up your eyes, and just calm down a little bit. I love the concept of biking through nature. You don't have to. You can just follow the tour guide, or you can follow the knot system. But you really learn how to really appreciate the nature and the environment.
Yeah, yeah. And what I've noticed after like my second or third trip is that our guests, after the first day, when they get used to how to travel from A to B to C, etc., that they start to slow down because at first it's like, oh, am I going to be on time? Because the boat will leave if I'm not on time, and etc. Then they start to really take time to admire the environment, which is really really pretty, and to see animals, to enjoy walking around a small city. And some of the cities that we visit are really pristine. They have the old middle-aged cities from the Hansa times, the old trader cities in eastern part of the Netherlands, or any of the other parts, and they're so well preserved and so beautiful, and so people then decide, well, just park the bike and walk around, and then it's not like Amsterdam. It's a totally different world. It's like if you're coming from the left-hand side, people say if you're on the bike and the cars, they will stop for you because that's the way it works out there. It's people are quiet. It's quiet. It's pristine. There's no mess on the ground. It doesn't feel like big city, but it's still large city, couple of 100,000 people, and has all the facilities, wonderful places to sit outside on the terrace and have lunch or just a cup of coffee or tea.
Wonderful.
Or what many of our German friends do, have a beer for lunch. It's also wonderful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that you also mentioned that the guests start settling down a little bit or calming down after the first day. Because also we get a lot of questions prior to their tour from our guests, and a lot of those questions are so specific. It's like, when do we have a toilet break on this stop, or is there a toilet break on this tour? Are we gonna have time to visit a coffee place? And they're just, I mean, of course, it's a big commitment then for them, but also it's just then after all this planning, after they arrive, it's nice for them to also let go and really accept the fact that we're going to take care of them and that we're going to make a nice vacation for them. And the most important part is that they can enjoy it, and then that they can settle down, calm down, and just appreciate the surroundings, the nature, the itinerary.
Yeah, yeah. It's as I said a couple of times already, so I'll stop saying that. The first day is always strenuous and intense, and thereafter, everybody's figured out, life is good here, and let's take our time. And we do have enough time because that's the way these trips are scheduled. And there's enough time to stop for coffee, to have a lunch, to bring your sandwiches that you can prepare yourself at breakfast time, and have a good time. That's it. And you see people, so when we cycle through forested areas, for instance, then there's all these benches that are out there in the woods, and so then I cycle a little bit behind usually, and hey, I see 4 or 5 people sitting down there at one of these benches. I'm like, hey, we stop for a couple of minutes and chat a little bit. So how are things going? And have you seen this, that, and just 3 miles up the road, you can see such and such. And people go, oh yeah, cool, yeah. And then I'll cycle on and meet some more people, and so you see that people are taking it easy and have a good time, and they figured out, oh, this is how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see that.
Also,
Yeah.
I think on the first day, nobody knows each other. And depending on the ship size, that can also be intimidating, especially on the small ships where you're put in a group of a couple of people and you don't know each other, but everybody's sitting on the same table or on 3 tables, I don't know. Then I think that also takes part of it being quite stressful on the first day, or that they still have to get used to. But do you also see that the group dynamics change within the next couple of days, that they're getting friends, that they're getting better along?
Yeah, you typically see that first day, especially if people are traveling with one or two just by themselves, like one couple, and so they put on a table with people that they really don't know. Then it's always a waiting game to see whether something develops on that table. But it always works because they're not identical people. If you're on a ship with like 60 guests, they're not identical people, but that's actually the fun part, because it's many different individuals, and after a week, then everybody has cycled together a couple of hours. They have met each other, or we have music nights always, and so they have danced, on the floor together or whatever. So it's the group gels together, and then when they leave after a week, and people are just hugging and saying, "Well, wonderful to have met you." And also we've had unique moments. I remember one of the trips I was on as a tour leader. We had 2 couples from British Columbia on board, and so we put them together on a table. And what transpired is that these people, they lived in the same city in British Columbia, and they lived about 200 yards from each other.
No.
And they had never met.
What a coincidence. And then they're meeting in the Netherlands.
And they're meeting out here. And a couple of weeks ago, I got a postcard from British Columbia, signed by all 4 of them.
No.
They were like couples in their 60s. And so they had sent me this postcard to my house, saying, it's like, well, we're lifetime friends now, and thanks so much that you put us together. And I felt
That's
really
so sweet.
That was so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, getting that postcard.
Yeah.
Wow, that's touching.
Yeah.
But also, I've been on a couple of trips, and for me, it felt every time, especially on like the smaller sized ships, it felt like I was in a bubble, and the ship was the entire world, and you got to know these people so well. And then you have to say goodbye, and you might never see them again. And it felt so weird because you had so many shared experiences together. I feel like people underestimate that, like when they've never done a boat bike tour before. But you cycle together, you eat together all day long, you have really deep talks, and then you're parting ways again, and that's weird.
Yeah.
So I always love these stories of hearing that guests stay in touch afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, talking about some guests from more remote parts of the world, so not from Germany. We have a lot of German guests, obviously. But I've had, in the 10 weeks that I've done this year, I had a lot of guests from Canada, Australia, United States, Scotland. I had a few, but also people from Brazil and Italy. And one of the interesting things is that for all these groups I just mentioned, there was like some Dutch heritage in one of the people that were on the group. And typically, what you see is that for instance, the people from Brazil, they came with 12, 14 people. It was like grandfather and grandmother and their kids, and also we had their kids, the grandkids, and the smallest one was like 6. And then you looked at the name of these people. It's like, well, that sounds like a Dutch name. Well, correct. Grandpa with his father, great grandfather, had moved from the Netherlands to Brazil 60 years ago or 70 years ago. I've forgotten. And so they come to the country of origin with that whole group, fabulous group. And Brazilians, they know how to party, of course. So at night, one of them had a guitar, and so he played Brazilian music, Astro Gilberto, and all of it. It was just absolutely wonderful. But you see that, and they actually also visited the old small town where they originate from, and so the house that great grandfather had lived in before he moved. As a little boy, that was still there. So they made pictures with the whole group, and so they sent that to me. Then obviously, it's just wonderful.
Yeah, that's
but there's
nice.
and also for our friends from Canada and the US, a lot of them, they have Dutch roots, so they do like a walk down memory lane.
Yeah.
And that's just incredible to see how
We get emails so often from especially Canadians and Americans saying, hey, my grandpa is from this and this town. Do you have a tour that leads through there? And then we can only say either, well, yes, we do, or no, but it's fairly close. So you can ask on board if this is somehow possible or if you have time to go there. So it's interesting to hear your perspective on this. Have you been able to send them home? Yes,
a couple of times. People visited their own places, the areas where they were from originally, and some of them they actually have a contact still. But once I had a group, and they had met another group of Dutch people when they were both working in African country as volunteers a long time ago. And they had been in contact very infrequently, like every 5 years, with the other group. But the other group lived in the Netherlands. They just went after Nigeria. They just went back to the Netherlands 30 years ago. And now for the first time, they wanted to meet together. And so we had them meet on the ship. It was a large ship that we were on. And so they were like the father from the US with his 4 sons and 1 daughter, and then the family who's back in the Netherlands with 4 sons. And so they got together on the ship. Now that was one emotional evening, I can tell you.
I can imagine.
And
wow.
yeah. So these things, they do happen. But there's other things that happen. People just have a wonderful time. I had a group of German ladies. They came with like 6 of them, and it was all girls, not weekend but a whole week. And so they were all happily married and had a wonderful life. And
they left their husbands at home.
They left their husbands at home.
Perfect.
Yeah. And they had a ball every evening. And one of the women, I talked to them as, hey, girls, but they were all in their 50s. And one of the girls decided that she wanted to sing, because we had this music night, and she started singing, and she had this like spectacular voice.
Wow.
And she sang a bunch of first like German schlagers, German songs. And then skipped over to international music, and she could do that too. And she was she was a little younger. She was a singer in a professional band.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. So
That's such a
that
fun
just happens.
memory.
That just
Yeah.
happens, and if as long as you as a tour guide, encourage talent, and because they then ask like could I sing one song? It's like, wow, yeah, the floor is yours. Yeah,
That's so sweet.
and we had a wonderful evening. Yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine.
yeah.
Do you organize these like singing evenings or just party evenings often?
Oh, and at least once a week we do that. Well, it's also a little bit depending on the weather, because if it's wonderful weather, people like to be outside, and most all of the ships, they have an area outside on top of the ship, and so if it's just gorgeous weather, then people may go into town wherever we're docked, and so they go sit in restaurants or cafes or what have you, and but also they can stay on board. And if the weather is a little different, which does happen from time to time, if it would rain, then we stay inside, and then we can have music, or we have a film, or we can talk a little bit about a little bit more about what we're going to see the next couple of days. And then we have all sorts of support material about our our royal family. I want to explain a little bit about the Netherlands royal family, who largely come from Germany anyway. So, or nowadays Argentina. So that's also an international group. Well, we have a lot of things that we
That's
can
also
do.
fun for the
Yeah,
guests
and
to
then
learn.
if the weather is so, then fairly often I take people out into the town where we're docked, and we just have a amble around. It's not like a formal tour, but I know most of these cities, as most of my colleagues also do. Of course, it's not just me, but also our colleagues, and everybody is fairly familiar with the cities where we docked, and they have to be. And so can show people around a little bit. And it is more than asking ChatGPT, well, tell me something about city XYZ, and then give me a tour of 40 minutes. Then you need to know really
Yeah,
what you're showing people.
of
Of course.
course.
Yeah, that's fun.
But I feel like that just accentuates more how these tours are really planned through, but also flexible at the same time.
Yeah.
And I feel like the tour leader makes all the difference, because every tour leader has their different style and everything. So how do you usually keep the group excited?
Well, first of all, I need to correct you a little bit. The tour leader is not the most important.
The cook is.
Yeah, but I think we know that it is. There are three groups who make for success. First of all, it's the crew of the boat. So start with the captain, of course. He's the most visible person, usually, or she. And then we, have the people who help the navigable side of things. Because we go through small canals, large rivers, wide rivers. Sometimes it's very deep, sometimes it's not very deep. Then we need to go through locks. And so, you have like 15 centimeters, like 6 inches on either side. And on the ship of 120 meters, well, that, takes some safe pair of hands at the steering wheel. And so also these people help with unloading of the bikes and fixing the bikes. So that's the crew. That's one group. Second group is hospitality. That's the people who help you with checking in and checking out. The bar, the people running the bar, the food. Our chef in the kitchen, and the people who help waitering. Then we have the group of people who clean the rooms, and so making every cabin tidy every day again, clean sheets, clean towels and what have you. So everybody's working really, really hard. So on one of the larger ships that I've sailed on this year, we have like 19 people on board, and half of them you really don't see even. And then the person that you see most, that would be the tour leader.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's really unfair towards all the other people.
No, everybody is important.
No, that's
but the
right.
crew mostly stays the same, I feel like. But the tour leader switches also quite frequently per boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there we get different reviews depending on the tour guide.
Yeah. No, that's correct. I would say that's correct, because the tour leader is the most visible person, and the tour leader, explains every day. This was what we done today. This is what we're going to do tomorrow in the next couple of days, and and also speaks a little bit about the things that are important. About not just if there's deviations, diversions. On the plan for tomorrow, but also about what cities are we going to visit and what is important in those cities to see and to do, and why are these cities important in the the total aspect of the tour. Especially is that important for the Hanse tour, which is that's the eastern part of the Netherlands, the old cities, the old trading cities. Now, having said that. If we talked a little bit about if the weather isn't really favorable, then we need to make sure that there's something to do during the day or at night. Then the tour leader needs to get that organized. So you're very visible. Also, if there's issues with bikes, you need to get that fixed. People have like a flat tire from time to time. It does happen. I've had one group this year who had zero flat tires. So that was 112 people on board, whole week, no flat tires.
That's relaxing.
End of the season. So all the new bikes had none of them. And at the end of the season, you typically have more problems, of course, with the bikes. But we had zero problems, no flat tire, no nothing. And so, then you can congratulate a group like that. I wish, it happens, every time, but that's not life. But fortunately, I have 3 daughters, as I explained before, so I know how to fix a bike if need be.
Perfect.
But
I think
but you're also, and that was to your point. You need to be there for people if there is a problem with a bike. Somebody has questions about where to go, or has lost their way, or it's injured or whatever. So there's people that get out of bed and say, well, I don't really feel like cycling today. So then what are you going to do? So we'll talk about that. And it always goes, with a smile, it goes well.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think a smile can do a lot. But unfortunately, we're also coming to an end.
Oh.
Yeah, I could talk a lot more with you about everything. But I think we learned a lot. Also, thank you for sharing your secrets. We're going to do everything with a smile from now on. And thank you for everybody who listened or viewed this podcast. And we hope to see you next time. If you want to see more episodes, you can do that on our website, boatbiketours.com, Spotify, or YouTube. Thank you.